Blockchain Show is a podcast that demystifies cryptocurrencies and distributed ledger technology.
Welcome back. You're listening to the Blockchain Show. We've got a special treat for you today. We're talking to Brian Bondy of Brave. And we've got Vin Anderson back. Welcome to both of you.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
It was good to be back.
It's good to have both of you on the podcast today. Very excited to learn more about Brave. It's often the first thing I see in the morning. Brian, I guess just to begin with, if anyone's not familiar with you and your work, if you wouldn't mind giving us a quick rundown of what you've been doing, and maybe we can tie that into blockchain, momentarily.
So yeah, I just grew up in Ontario, Canada. I grew up on kind of like a gardening farm. I started working on my career at like a tool and die shop, just doing data entry of orders. And I kind of realized pretty quickly that I was entering the same order into 3 different systems. So I made up this program where I could just enter it once, and then it would communicate to all 3 different programs using Win32 APIs for finding windows and sending messages. And then it basically increased the productivity of everyone there by a lot. So they increased my salary on the spot by 4 times when I did that. And this was in high school, kind of like a side job that I had. And then went to University of Waterloo for math and computer science. Then worked at various different companies. Like I co-founded my own company before Brave for about a decade. And then worked at like Corel Corporation on WordPerfect Office Suite when that was still popular. On alt software, device driver and graphics company, and then Army Simulation Center as well, just helping them do like simulations for different scenarios. Then went on to Khan Academy. Actually, before Khan Academy was Mozilla. And at Mozilla, like by the first year, I had submitted like 215 patches, posted 200 issues, became a peer on. So they had this like code review system where if you're authoritative on a certain subject, then you can become a peer to review other people's code. So I became a peer on like Firefox Toolkit, image library, widgets, a bunch of different areas. Worked on their silent updates there. Worked on Project Snappy, which was like for performance in the browser. Did like this coding tutorial site kind of for contributors called Code Firefox. And then we actually wrote a browser, a second browser called Windows 8 Metro browser. That was when those were still a thing. It didn't end up shipping, but I had kind of the experience of writing a browser from scratch from there. After Mozilla, I went to Khan Academy. I worked with John Resick there from jQuery. I did like an environment for code evaluation for JS code, worked on that. I did like SQLite, compiled the JavaScript with Mscript and the Mscript and SDK. So just like to be able to teach people SQLite and have them be able to enter it into the site. And worked on like automated testing system for them using Slimer.js, and then another program called LearnStorm, which is kind of like a competition for schools and students within Khan Academy. And then, after that, Brave. So pretty long career at various different companies.
So I'm really excited about Brave and the potential it has to, change the way people keep their information safe and content creators get paid. Can you tell us a lot more about Brave and what you're doing with them?
We started like a web browser. So if you're familiar with Chrome, Internet Explorer, Safari, those are all web browsers. The difference with Brave is that we put the user first. We put the user in control, and that's of their data and giving user choice of the content that they see. So Brave is kind of like Chrome. It looks like Chrome, it feels like Chrome, but the difference is that we don't monetize the user. The user's not our product, and we don't track you. Like if you're using Google Chrome, you're kind of the product. All your data is basically given to Google, and they track you in various different ways that we disable. So Brave is like currently at 46 million MAU. And just to give you an idea of that, we ended 2020 at 24 million MAU. So MAU means monthly active users. So more than 2x of the growth by the end of the year we'll have. And then our daily active users, that's the number of users that use it every day, is 14.7 million. So it's getting really high up there.
One of the first things I did when I installed Brave was I went to a website that I go to normally, and timed how long it took to load the website, and it was like 3 seconds to fully load, and then I put on Brave, and it was half a second or something like that. And it's just there's so much tracking information, so much ad related content that you're mainly loading the stuff you don't see as opposed to the stuff you want, and Brave automatically takes all that out. And I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, exactly. There's megabytes and megabytes of data that we get rid of from the tracking protection. So basically, we are one of the first browsers to enable the tracking protection by default. And when you do that, like you stop loading certain iframes and certain images and certain style sheets. And each of these resources sometimes have dozens of requests and sub requests, and each of those sometimes have in turn dozens of requests as well. So it keeps going on and on, right? And you end up saving megabytes of bandwidth. Each of those different origins that you connect to is also its own process. So you end up having less processes. So that means less RAM usage, less CPU usage, and all that stuff too. So I think that performance is by and large because of that tracking protection.
And you said how many users are you have a month now? And where does that relate to the other browsers? Where are you on the list? Like number 5, I would guess?
We're definitely smaller than Firefox. But I think we'll eventually pass them. We're currently at 46 million MAU, so we'll probably be about 50 million by the end of the year.
Okay, and Brave has like a wallet, an Ethereum wallet attached out of the box as well.
Yeah. So we recently released this wallet. It has like built-in buy, sending, and swap of different assets. It supports Ethereum by default, but also you can add any EVM compatible network, like for example Polygon. So you can go to like chainlist.org. It's a website that has all these dozens and dozens of different chains that you can add. And you can just click the add button. It prompts you and asks if you'd like to add it, and you say yes, and then it adds it. That's one of your chains that you can interact with. Once you do, you can visit these different websites and you can allow them to interact with the blockchain on your behalf and send transactions and things like that. So those are the Dapps I'm talking about.
Do you think most of the users are heavily using it for Dapps, or do they just use it for the increased privacy settings?
It's both. I think the biggest advantage is the Dapps. I think long term, like Web3 is a big thing. So I see that being a big area of growth for users and the sites that they want to visit.
How does Brave make money then?
Off the wallet? Is that what you mean?
Just off the browser. What if they're providing such a great browser? How are they able to do that? Because you say Google makes money by selling your data. If you don't sell your data, how are you? And it's free. So how?
Yeah, most web browsers make money off of what their default browser status is, and this does not include Brave. Brave doesn't have one of those default browser deals that, like if you look at, I don't know what the percentage is, but it's definitely well over 90%, probably 99% of the revenue of a company like Mozilla is all in the Google search deal. What Brave makes money on instead is we have these private ads, basically this ad system. And it's fully user opt-in. So it's off by default, but the user can turn it on. Now you might think like, why the heck would I want to turn on ads, right? Well, the reason why is because if you do, then you can get paid these basic attention token, these BAT tokens, and those go into your rewards wallet, basically.
Yeah, so the BAT token is kind of the fuel for Brave browser, and you can earn it as a browser using Brave, and then as well as like a content creator. Can you kind of break down the functionality of the Brave token BAT?
Yeah, so it starts off with like any company that wants to advertise. So they can then buy ads. So they can buy ads from Brave using BAT, or they can buy ads from Brave using US dollars. If they do use US dollars, then Brave turns around and buys BAT with it. And then you basically, so that's how advertisers interact with BAT. How users interact with BAT is they can opt in to view those ads. If they do, then they then get paid a portion of that ad revenue. And then publishers, the sites that you visit basically, or content creators like you guys, any Brave user can go visit your site, and based on like what their browsing history is, they'll give a percentage of the rewards that they received to the different publishers. They can also tip any individual one for an individual amount as well.
Are there a lot of people that load their BAT up to give to content creators, or is it mainly people using the browser to get paid to see ads, or both?
There's both, yeah. I would say more people just receive the rewards and then regift them, because I mean, for some people, it's a significant amount of money depending on where you live. But for some people, it's just kind of extra. And because of the tracking protection, it inadvertently blocks some ads. So they want to basically contribute to the sites that are losing ad revenue, basically, and be able to pay them the bat that they receive instead.
What is a significant amount of money for people that are browsing? What's the most somebody made in BAT browsing the internet?
I don't have the data, so I couldn't tell you, but I've heard of like $5-10 a month, things like that.
Okay. The Brave token, what's that worth now? About $1? Or do you know?
So the BAT token, yeah, I'm not sure the price. It might be $1 something last I checked.
Cool.
Yeah, it's pretty cool, man. We had a guest on who told me she was paying for her Disney Plus subscription with BAT tokens.
That's awesome.
Man, that just kind of blew my mind because I knew they existed, but I finally went through and just set it all up. And man, I mean, not only did it encourage me to use Brave more, not only because of the token, but just, I mean, it just makes me more aware of how much ad and tracking is going on. And then, it'll actually show me some pretty cool products and companies that I didn't know before. And I don't know, it's just a really cool concept. I used to think that I had to, convert them to other currencies as soon as I got them. But now I'm kind of thinking these are, pretty valuable. I kind of want to hold on to them. But can you speak on that, to why people might want to hold on to Brave tokens? I mean, do they have any utility once they come into people's wallets, or have you seen anyone being creative with using them or anything like that?
So yeah, we don't look at it as an investment. We just look at it as, like you said, utility into the system. So it basically comes in as a form of rewards, and then you can re-gift those rewards to reward the content that you're viewing is the main use case. But for example, I just retweeted someone on December 10th, and they had said that they bought a Switch with the rewards over the last 9 months. It worked out to $97.09. That's what they said.
Yeah, that's pretty cool, man. I love it.
What are you doing at Brave? Because you have a pretty in-depth background. What's your role there?
So I'm CTO and co-founder. So when I started the company, there's just two of us, Brendan, Ike, and myself. I'm slowly starting to hand out like all the various duties that I have as we're growing. Like we're over about, I think we're maybe 150, 160 people now, employees at Brave. So things like wiring payroll is something that I might have done in the early days, but I'm handing out those types of things. Nowadays, though, it's mostly just like project management, managing people. I still get probably more code than I should be getting out these days still. So I was actively involved in the wallet release, for example.
Do you want to tell our audience a little bit about who Brendan is, if they don't know?
Yeah, so Brendan Ike is the creator of JavaScript. I think he created it in 10 days. And also he's a co-founder of Mozilla Firefox. Mozilla and Firefox, the browser inside Mozilla.
So he's really gunning to have Brave overtake Mozilla as a more used browser, or does it not really care?
I don't think he cares too much about overtaking Mozilla, but more just about having users own their own data and giving users control of their choice of what they see online. So
I had heard that there are some pretty big exploits in like Google Chrome relatively recently. If you know about that, you want to talk a little bit about that and why there would be less exploits for Brave browser versus something like Chrome.
So I'd say that tracking protection blocks a lot of things, a lot of scripts that could cause vulnerabilities and things like that. Those just get blocked by default in Brave, but Brave follows Chromium security upgrades very closely. So like whenever there's a major Chromium bump or even a minor Chromium bump with security fix, we get it out within like a day of Chrome getting out it as well. That took a while for us to get there, but like we have a full team just working on upgrading those things. But as for like security vulnerabilities, it's common in all browsers, and not just browsers, but all software. And I guess like the only companies that wouldn't have those are the ones that aren't telling you about them.
Funny. What's your personal experience using Brave, and why do you use it?
So when I started Brave, like I wanted to basically use something that was like Brave. So like when I was using Chrome before, I worked at Mozilla before. I eventually switched back to Chrome.
Why did you switch to Chrome?
The web compat, viewing videos online, like Chrome has, or Google has this thing called Widevine, for example. So if you want to watch Netflix in full HD, then you need to have Google's blessing basically to download this component that does it named Widevine. And the web compat is like everyone wants to work for the browser that has basically almost all the market share, right? So you basing off of Gecko is something that we tried to do, and it's not going to work long term, we don't think, and that's why we went to Google Chrome as the base of it. Now we have at least 50 things that we disable from Google Chrome, and you can search on Google like deviations from Chromium Brave, and it'll come up with a wiki page, and it describes all those things that we block. And there's tons of different things, but like if you're using Chrome, when you log into a website, any Google property, basically you're logging into the browser at that point, and it automatically assumes that you're logging into the browser, and then it can track you across all the different properties that they have as well. With Brave, that doesn't happen. So if you log into Gmail, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're logged into every other Google thing.
So how is Chromium defined? Is that like an open source Google created OS, or is it a browser, or is it like someplace in between? I have a little trouble defining it.
It's basically like the Blink engine with the browser shell on top of it, which is forked from WebKit as well.
Okay. Do you own BAT?
Yeah, I own a bunch of different cryptocurrencies, BAT being one of them.
Yeah. What cryptocurrencies do you like the most?
I would say Bitcoin for sure.
Bitcoin, that's a good one.
Ethereum. Let's see. I have Uniswap, Solana, Litecoin, Polkadot, Chainlink, Cardano, XRP. Yeah, I have a bunch of different ones.
Do you think like Polkadot is the next evolution, but beyond Ethereum? Do you think your Ethereum will catch up pretty quickly here, as far as the abilities that it has with the
Yeah, so I'm most excited about probably Solana in terms of transaction speed and like Dapps support and things like that. I think they have a really good community and low transaction fees. So I'm probably most excited about that kind of support. I do think Ethereum will eventually get to Ethereum too, but it's taking too long. The gas fees are too high, and people are looking for other options now.
Has that caused you or any of your users any trouble with the high gas fees? How do you transfer the ERC20 tokens that are worth $1 or something when it costs $100 to transfer a token?
Yeah, exactly. It doesn't make sense if you want to do like on-chain tipping, for example. If someone wanted to tip you that on-chain, it's not feasible because the transaction fees are $20, $40 if it's congested, things at that level. And if you're only tipping $1 or $2, that's just it doesn't make sense, right? So what we do instead is when we reward users, we reward them with something called virtual BAT, and it's less decentralized than if we did it on chain. Mm-hmm. But we can do it for no gas cost, basically. At that point, you can link your Brave rewards into an exchange, and then your virtual BAT can be converted into the normal BAT. Which you can then withdraw to an on-chain wallet.
So initially, was it all on-chain with BAT transfers, and then is VBAT something, or I don't know if you call it VBAT, but virtual BAT, is virtual BAT something that is just kind of like an internal ledger that you guys have over at Brave, or do you actually have a chain out there that is managing that?
We actually started with Bitcoin, so the very first prototype was with Bitcoin and not BAT at all. And then the transaction fees were just too high. So we looked at the Ethereum network and decided that a token was the best way to do that. And then, of course, the gas fees on Ethereum start to skyrocket around then too. So that's what kind of forced this virtual BAT system for the time being anyways. We do have something called Themis, which is the decentralization of the ad system that we're working on as well. And I think that Solana is going to be a key part in making that happen as well.
Is that the recent partnership for distributed applications that you're mentioning right there?
Yeah. There's a partnership with Solana, and basically that's to make it basically the default chain in Brave. So it's not to say you can't interact with any Ethereum DApp, you still can, but just if a DApp supports both Ethereum and Solana, then we would prefer Solana in that case.
That's really cool. So would that be utilized through the wallet, or how would that interface with someone who would be using that?
Yeah, so basically We recently released that wallet, and the wallet started as a MetaMask fork. That was like maybe a couple of years ago. We started out with a MetaMask fork. Then we realized that we wanted to create our own wallet from scratch. MetaMask had changed their license to be not open anymore, so it didn't really make sense to continue to be based off of that code base anymore, because there would be no more upstream changes that we could take. So creating our new wallet made sense by the time. There's also a lot of downsides with MetaMask as an extension. Like, just as an example, like they're still based on Node 14 when LTS is for Node is version 16, which basically means that no security updates are even being done for the version 14 that they're using right now. There's a lot of dependencies that they have, like 2,750 last time I checked, just various NPM dependencies. Each of those could have security problems or problems of their own. And we couldn't do a lot of things in the wallet like we can now. So basically, because it was an extension, that means that it had to have an extra process that was running in the browser, which means that we wouldn't want to load it by default. So if someone's using Chrome side by side with Brave, when they first start the browser, we don't want all these extra processes, right? We want to look at least use the same or less amount of resources as Chrome does. So with the native wallet implementation, that allows us to basically have a wallet available for all users without using that extra resources that an extension would require us to have.
That's so cool, man! I can't wait to play around with the wallet. I think I'm going to be using that a lot. It seems like you guys are really kind of deepening your ties with crypto. Certainly recently, when you founded Brave, did you have that in mind, or is that something that you kind of adopted along the way? I'm just kind of curious of your relationship with this technology.
Yeah, when we founded Brave, there was other cryptocurrencies, but it wasn't the environment that you see today. So that's why we started with Bitcoin, because it just made the most sense at that point. Things have evolved quite a bit now, and like Web3 is emerging as a thing, like decentralized applications on the web. And like if you compare it to Mozilla Firefox or even Google Chrome, they're not adding these Web3 support. Like they're not adding support for ENS, they're not adding support for unstoppable domains. They don't have a built-in wallet that can talk to Uniswap or 1inch or any other Dapp. So I see it kind of as a big opportunity, but I'm not sure why, but I think that user base found Brave, and like we didn't go after making a wallet right from the start. I just feel like the crypto community kind of adopted Brave, and we're just trying to listen to our customers, basically.
You were mentioning the 217 dependencies that MetaMask has. It's weird when you have a dependency and you sometimes, may not immediately know it. Maybe like there may be one guy in, say, North Dakota or something who has this dependency who has this bit of software that everybody's using, and they're just updating it for free. It's strange. The computer world is very very strange in that way.
Yeah, I saw a meme that was like that earlier today, actually. And it was like kind of like the one project that's doing something for free is not getting any thanks. Was the gist of it.
So you started with Bitcoin, and then you moved to Ethereum, and you're moving to Solana. Do you think there'll be enough transaction per second on Solana? Is that so? One of the big selling points of cryptocurrency initially was the micropayments. It just hasn't materialized. Every time a chip gets enough traction to make it useful, where the network effects are paying dividends, it slows down. It becomes incredibly expensive, and micropayments just get squashed. When will we see that come to fruition on a chain that has a throughput?
Yeah, first, I wouldn't say we're moving to Solana. We're bridging, basically. So we're bridging to Solana as well as other networks. So that is already available on Polygon. That is already available on Solana. So it doesn't need to be like one network or another. Now, when we did start from Bitcoin and moved to that was an actual move, because we had to like change code to use a different token. Now we were just basically using the same token, but allowing more than one network to happen, basically.
Okay, so yes, I guess I don't know a ton about Solana. Is that another EVM? I'm sorry, Ethereum virtual machine compatible blockchain? They just forked Ethereum, or did they write their own?
No, it's actually different. Phantom Wallet's the most popular there, and it's kind of like the MetaMask for Solana.
Okay.
So I guess we'll be kind of head to head, like kind of like how we're head to head with MetaMask. We'll also be head to head with Phantom. There's basically a very similar API that's being exposed to Dapps that they can consume. There is a project on Solana as well for EVM compatibility, but we're going to be adding the native Solana support right into Brave. You had asked earlier about is Solana fast enough to do all this on chain, and the answer is yeah. And also the fees are like a fraction of a penny for a transaction, rather than the $20 to $30. So when it's a fraction of a penny, then it becomes feasible to do everything on chain, basically.
I don't know where you're paying $20 or $30 for Ethereum. I'm paying $100 for ERC20 transfers. It's nuts.
Yeah, if it's a swap, especially, it's ridiculous.
So besides the kind of financial dApps, what dApps do you use? You mentioned Uniswap, and I forget what other one you mentioned. OneInch. Besides the financial dApps, are you using any other dApps? NFT. Yeah, I don't know what else.
Yeah, like OpenSea for NFTs. Like I've used ENS, which has a dApp there to register different names. Yeah, I used Cryptokitties in the past. My son and my wife are not into crypto typically, but they're both into Cryptokitties back in the day.
Yeah, some cats as well.
Yeah, there's probably others too. There's a lot of gaming ones that are starting to get more popular as well.
Yeah. So ENS, did you enjoy the airdrop of ENS 2 months ago, maybe?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, it was pretty crazy.
So, yeah, how did I forget how BAT launched? Was that a similar? You didn't do an airdrop to users, right? You kind of what you guys did to launch the BAT.
There was just a token sale. Basically, there was 1.5 billion BAT tokens, 1 billion of them for sale. I think it was 300 million of them used for the user growth pool, and 200 million for development. User growth pool is still there. It's gone down since the start, obviously, because we've done various giveaways, I guess, for using the browser, different rewards, I guess. And yeah, that token sale was done within 30 seconds after it started as well, which is kind of insane.
It was a very promising project where there wasn't too much in the space going on. I don't know if they were more security type or more scammy type. There was a bunch of projects that may not have executed well or didn't have the right intention from the start. But it seemed like with you and Brendan, it was a pretty solid project from the start that was going to actually produce something of value. And the token was going to clearly be a utility token, not a security token. I don't know if that's a huge deal anymore, but at the time it might have been for some people.
Yeah, I think it's still a big deal, and I think that at least from what I've talked to, whenever I talk to anyone, they say that is basically the gold example of what a utility token is compared to other tokens out there.
Yeah, kind of curious your take on NFTs and if there'll be any integration with the wallet.
Yeah, so we have basic support already built into the wallet for NFTs. And that's one of the big areas I would say within the next quarter of features that we're going to be adding is around NFT. So like a gallery, the ability to set floor prices and price discovery, viewing different collections, things like that. I think that there's a lot of garbage out there in the NFT space. Like there's too much saturation. However, there's definitely some good projects and good collections. And like if you're looking at like a Bored Ape or Crypto Zombie, I don't think those are losing value too soon. So I think that there's basically a lot of different potential, and just how you can code different things to happen. Like you can always reward the original creator right inside the contract. I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, absolutely. Is the Brave wallet going to remain like a browser-based wallet, or do you think there'll ever be like a download for people on mobile phones?
Yeah, I think that's kind of the edge that we have, is that it can be browser first. So like if you look at something like MetaMask on mobile, they can add a web view, but they're never going to have like a full browser like we have in Brave. So making that browser and Dapp experience, which I think is where the most potential is, first class. I think and integrated with the wallet is kind of key. So I don't see us adding it as a separate downloadable wallet app. That being said, like you can do things like create your own icon on for the wallet for like easy access right into that section of the browser. I think that would probably be useful to have kind of like almost like a P3A app, a progressive web app. If you ever went to like twitter.com, you have like a little icon in your URL bar that you can add it as a separate icon on your desktop or on your mobile phone, and it goes right into there. I think something like that would be useful though.
That's a good point. Yeah, this is kind of a noob question. We might have to take this out. Sorry for being pretty basic here, but say I just got a new computer, been using Brave for years. I have all that history, all that basic attention token. Well, I really don't have that much, not as much as I'd like. But is there a way to transfer that over to a new browser, or because I know that the mobile phone app is a little bit different, but what's your recommendations for people who are upgrading a new computer and want to keep going with their Brave journey?
So the first thing I would recommend is to turn on sync across your devices. So that basically creates a client-side encrypted key, and then you can transfer it to your other computer using a time-based QR code. And that'll you can select what's included in that sync, but it can sync like your passwords, your bookmarks, your history, autofill data, et cetera, et cetera. For BAT in particular, I'd probably recommend just connecting to either Gemini or Uphold and getting your BAT into non-virtual BAT form, just to make sure that that's safe when you transfer a computer. And then for the wallet itself, we'll eventually include it within sync as well. It's an optional thing that you can sync for the HT seed words. But when you set up the wallet, we basically nag you to back up your recovery words, because it is a self-custody wallet. So that means like if you lose your secret recovery phrase, then and you lose your device, then you're losing your funds as well. So they say like not your keys, not your crypto. That applies here, but it also comes with some responsibility as well.
Yeah, it's like an ever-present question, but what are some best practices on keeping that phrase safe? Because I imagine like a 1950 style, writing it down on a piece of paper and shoving it in a safe and hoping nobody can break in. Is there any more modern way to make sure that nobody gets a hold of that phrase?
There's several ways. Like you could split your list into several parts, and you could store them in separate places. Like you could put them in a bank safety deposit box, and you could use more than one bank as well if you don't want the one bank having the full list. There's also different like physical little metal pieces that you kind of, there's a couple different versions of it, but it's like a slate where you enter in all the different metal pieces, one character for each word that you have, for each of your 24 words. And then that's fire resistant, and you can keep it in a safe if you want to, but it's already fire resistant as well. So I'd probably recommend that over just on a piece of paper, because a piece of paper might wear out or you might lose it or something like that.
Yeah, that's really cool. Van, are you doing any of those things?
I have seen the piece of metal that people use. Not going to share where I had my secret phrases.
It's all right. Not trying to call you out. Yeah.
But I worry that it's an obstacle that's going to be very hard to overcome for the general population. The act of 24 words or 12 words, and the importance of it. So it'd be interesting to hear how Brian thinks, if the general population can really handle that responsibility, or if they're going to have a more, three or something, where there's like a trusted third party, and then the entity that you're dealing with, where either you have the keys, or you can get two other parties to fill in to back you up. I mean, I know that like Edge Wallet we've had on, and they have a way to get back funds if you lost your access. So I feel as if it's a pretty big obstacle for the general population. I don't know. I also think that there's a huge opportunity to have like a universal login with your wallet, where you can have an identity that works everywhere easily. All you have to do is you don't have to remember any passwords. So I think maybe there's a benefit there where you can kind of convince people a little bit. Like, I know it's harder to manage this identity online, but once you do, you won't have to have you won't have to have a dozen or 24 different passwords for each site that are different by adding an exclamation point to the end of it or something. You can have a very secure login process by using a wallet. And so there's kind of like two areas that I'm excited about in the space, as well as apprehensive about it carrying over to the general public. What do you think about that, Brian?
Yeah, I don't think the self-custody is for everyone. So it is kind of like an advanced user thing. I wouldn't say it's super advanced. Like, I wouldn't say you have to be super technical to do it, but I definitely agree that it's not for everyone. There are things like Taurus Labs. They're working on a system that will probably make available on Brave. We haven't done that yet, though. And you can, for example, OAuth with n different providers, as many as you want. And you just need like 2 of n of those to basically be able to do any action. So, for example, I could set up on my device, which is one of those, one of the n. I could also connect to Google, Facebook, WhatsApp, and that's 3 more. And then I would just need access to any 2 of those to be able to do things. So there are solutions like that are coming, I think, and being able to OAuth into a site is a lot easier. It's just kind of like a button click, and then you enter your password for that site. And people typically don't have a hard time regaining access if they lose that.
Yeah, definitely, that's going to be something that's for most people. They're going to have something like that versus self-custody. I think it's not.
Yeah, and it's not going to be one or the other. I think it's both, because some people are still going to want that self-custody, everything controlled on their device, but some people would much rather have a system like that. So. And it depends on what you're using it for as well. Like, if it's a software-based wallet and you're just kind of using it to connect to certain dApps and you're only transferring what you need at a time, then I think that it's not super risky to have things just as self-custody.
Yeah, if it's tens of dollars or something, it's not really a big deal, or hundreds of dollars or something. It's not the end of the world. However, if you wait long enough, those tens of dollars can
maybe
turn to quite a bit in a time.
Yeah, and with Brave Wallet as well, like you can set up an HT wallet right within the browser, but you can also connect, if you have like a Ledger or a Trezor hardware device, you can connect those into Brave and use those directly, even with Dapps, through the Brave Wallet.
Okay, so there's integration with a popular hardware wallet?
Yeah, exactly.
That's nice. What is something you wanted to talk about regarding Brave that we haven't talked about yet?
I could probably expand on, you had asked about like revenue streams, and I touched on ads. So ads is just one way that Brave can make revenue. Other ways are within the Brave wallet itself. So if you swap within Brave //wallet, like the built-in swap feature, Brave has a fee there. But again, you don't need to use that. You can just go directly to Uniswap and not have that Brave fee. So that's one other way that Brave has a revenue stream. And then there's also Brave Search that we released recently that will support rewards, and it'll be ad supported, but you can pay for a premium version of it with no ads as well. We have a Brave VPN product, and then also Brave Talk and Brave News as well. So those are all different streams of revenue for us, and diversified products that go beyond the browser.
Is the Brave Search available now?
Yeah, and it's actually the default on Brave now. So if you download Brave, if you downloaded it a long time ago, for example, then we don't change your default. So if it was at Google, it's still going to be at Google. But for new downloads, we set it as the default to Brave Search.
Okay. And the VPN, what are some of the uses for? A lot of people may not know why they need a VPN. Why are people using VPNs?
There's several reasons, but one is there's some content has like geo gating on it, so you can't access certain content if you're coming from certain countries. So by using a VPN, you can get around that. Another one's just like IP anonymization, so like your real IP is not being exposed to the sites that you're connecting to, for example.
What's the monthly fee? Like $10?
Sorry, I don't know offhand.
Yeah.
I think it is though. Yeah.
Yeah, it's got to be something like that, right? And then there were two other things you mentioned, and the VPN is available now or coming soon.
Available on iOS now. Android and desktop are coming soon.
Okay. And then
probably Q1.
And then you mentioned two other things, and I forgot what they were.
Brave Search. Brave Search is at 150 million queries per month, so it's pretty big. The growth, if you compare it to DuckDuckGo, is insane.
Okay. DuckDuckGo is the other big privacy-focused one, right?
Right. Yeah. Difference being that DuckDuckGo uses Bing for results, and Brave has its own index.
And from my understanding, Bing just copies Google.
Maybe.
that's my understanding. They did Google did a experiment where they put a very strict, like a hash, you would say, right? And produced the
I've heard the exact same thing.
Yeah. So
and it showed up in the same hash showed up in the Bing results, which couldn't have come from anywhere except for from getting it from the Google index.
Yeah. So how are you guys indexing the web? Because it's if Microsoft is just copying Google, what are you guys doing?
We have a team that was called Clicks before, and they've been working on this for more than 1 decade. And Joseph is the main chief of search there, and he's probably the search expert. So I'd recommend probably having him on sometime, and you could dig into that. But
great.
I don't know all the information retrieval tech as much as I could.
You mentioned Brave Talk. Is that a feature that's live now, and is it a subscription-based service?
It's live now, and it's free to a certain extent. And if you want to use the bigger features, I guess, I think it's free for some number of some number of group parties of a certain size. If you want to have a meeting with 100 people, then you have to use the premium version. But if you're only having a meeting with 1 or 2 people, then it's the free version. It's available right now. Just if you go open a new tab on Brave Desktop, for example, you can start a new call there. And it's very similar to Zoom. It works the same way.
That's really cool. Is there any recording functionality?
Yep.
Sweet.
Yeah, you should give it a try. It's I think feature parity with Zoom.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Yeah, if we chat again, we might have to talk on Brave Talk. Learn something new.
Yeah, check it out. Let me know what you think about it.
Right on. Yeah, I really enjoyed it, Brian.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for your time,
Brian.
man.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me, guys. Appreciate it.
That was Brian Bondy from Brave. And thank you, Ben, for joining us. I'm sorry we only got 1 episode out this month, but hopefully you enjoyed it. We have a couple episodes we recorded in December. I'll be sure to get those out in the next 2 weeks. Thanks for tuning in.